You know I'm right. The podcast that uncovers the origin stories of some of the biggest names in sports, media, entertainment, reality TV, Big Brother, of course, and so much more. Nick Durst here along with Joe Calabrese. And Joe, we're very excited about our guest today. It's been a long time coming, trying to get him on the show since the summer. But here we are towards the end of the year. Finally locked him in.
Finally locked him in, the podcast that uncovers the origin stories of some of the biggest names in entertainment, specifically reality TV. We are now becoming the go-to Big Brother podcast, and we were very fortunate. Did an event a couple of weeks ago here in the New York City area. Slowly but surely, we've been getting all of the house guests from the most recent season of Big Brother 27 on with us. We've been trying to get him since the summer. He's finally able to come on with us. We're very, very happy to have him on. We welcome Adrian to the show. Adrian, my question is, how do you pronounce your last name? Is it Roca or is it Rocca?
Rocha.
Roca.
Rocha.
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 There we
Gotcha.
go.
Rocha. Yeah,
Adrian, how you
Rocha.
doing, pal? You look good.
I'm doing fantastic. I've been busy with work and just personal projects and traveling and catching up with friends and family. So I'm quite busy since getting off the show, but I've been doing fantastic though.
Yeah, Adrian is always on TikTok, so I'm curious, Adrian, what's the first app you check on your phone every day?
That's a good question. I would probably have to go with that's a good question. I probably could go with probably Instagram or Talk if I had to pick one. Yeah, I don't know. It's a mixture. It depends. It's not the first thing I do. When I open my one of those two, it's usually one of those two.
All right, good answer. Good answer. Now, you're from Texas. You're from San Antonio. So, the extent of what Nick and I know about San Antonio, Texas is it's got a beautiful Riverwalk type of area. It's got the Spurs. Are you interested in either of those two? What do you do down there?
Mostly I'm not gonna lie. When I'm in San Antonio, I focus on just basically hanging out with friends. Like I really every time people tell me about San Antonio, oh, I love the Riverwalk or I love the bird. That's basically all most people know about San Antonio. But I think the most beautiful part of San Antonio is its people. And that is like my main focus. So when people ask what do I love most about it, I can't give them a place or a thing to do. Rather just the people that I hang out with is what I enjoy about San Antonio. And that's from my perspective.
Now, from what I've been told, you could pick things up with your feet. Now, are we
Yes.
talking about basic stuff like pens and pencils and coins, or could you actually pick up like stuff with your feet?
A hammer.
Yeah. I mean, I pick them up often. I didn't go barefoot like Keanu was in the house, but oftentimes I would be barefoot. And I'm like, sometimes you drop your napkin or your towel or a shirt, like when you do laundry, and you don't want to bend down to pick it up. I picked up like all sorts of things. Of course, do have its limits. Like, I pick up a 50-pound bell, on my feet. But for the most part, I mean, I pick up like, yeah, basic pins, but I mean, I also open doors. I can flush toilets. I mean, of course, I don't do that. I didn't do it in the house because that would be unsanitary for a lot of people. But I mean, I went through a germaphobe phase one time when I was younger. So I was used to touching everything with my feet, not with my hands. That's where that skill came in. Of course, I was never barefoot in the house, but I find it very useful.
Well, Adrian, did your feet help you at all to finally figure out the laundry machine in the Big Brother house?
I'm telling you, man, I was watching live feed and I have a clip. You saw Will struggling with the washing machine. I saw him get frustrated with. I heard Rachel said that washing machine scares her. I'm telling you, I'm not the only one that had a problem with the washing machine. It's just, I guess, my time with the washing machine is what made it on the show. So I guess, of course, like I'm the one that had problems, but I know everyone else did. It wasn't me. It was that washing machine.
Talk to us about being a professional carpenter, how you got into that industry, and what's the most interesting carpentry job you ever worked on?
So where I started carpentry, of course, my family knew a bit of carpentry, but where I learned most of my skills were at school. In high school, it was like a trade focused type school. It teaches you the basics of like what you need, what you get in high school, but you also get like carpentry skills, like how we learn to do drywall, sheathing, tile, rough like framing and stuff like that. So that's where I most of my stuff. And coming out, I just learned everything else. It was just learned from experience, just hands-on experience. And originally, why I'm a carpenter today, is I didn't have that job. I didn't. The plan wasn't for me to become a carpenter. I used to work a 9 to 5 job as a store manager, and that job also was in for my school, my college at the time. But what a lot of people, I don't know how much I shared about this online, but the reason why I left that and became a carpenter today is because of my grandpa, who was diagnosed with cancer. And he went through his first treatment and he was cancer free for 2 years. And I remember during his treatment, I was doing school time, I was doing work full time, and I barely even saw the people I was living with to day basis. So luckily, my grandpa survived, I guess his first round of treatment, and he's still alive today. But I couldn't imagine that if he hadn't gone, like if he hadn't made it through the chemo and the cancer, because the one he has is very aggressive. And if he hadn't made it, I just think to myself, like, I wouldn't have had any time to spend with him, right? So when he went through his first treatment and he got better, I decided that I'm going to put a break on school, take a break from the, I guess, 9 to 5, like corporate job kind of, and to allow myself to have more flexibility in my schedule for family. So that's why you see me on the show. I was crying about family. And it's like that was one of the things going on the show was I wanted to give my grandpa something to watch because he's like late 80s and he can't really go much. He's not super mobile. He is, but with the treatment going on, it's like hard for him to get out of the house. So being in the house, I didn't. Yes, I wanted money. Yes, I wanted the glory. But there was also a third factor was also just to make my family proud and especially give my grandpa, I guess, something to wake up to, something to look forward to, something exciting. Like, hey, my grandson's on TV competing and he's winning, right? So that's why it meant so much to me, and it was so hard when I did lose. But that is why I'm a carpenter today. Um, because I get to pick up jobs. The way I say is I'm an independent carpenter, but they just told me to say carpenter to simplify it, I guess, to the audience. So I am like your friendly local handyman is what I like to say. But the regular jobs like redoing like bathrooms or fixing like assembling light fixtures or building sheds. Those are like the basic jobs, those are like the classic money makers, but those aren't like those are boring. I lie. I hate those jobs. And when people ask for custom work, I love doing custom work, but I have a saying, if you find it on Amazon, don't freaking call me, okay? I was like, if you find a store, I don't want to build it, right? And I was like, so one time someone came to me, it's probably one of my favorite builds outside the wall comp, of course, is the price right will, but they call their prices right will for legal reasons. I just said, a game show will. It's a game show will, and I built that, and there wasn't really much blueprints on how to build it. I wanted to build it to actual size to where you see on the show, but that the one on the show is just too big to fit through a door. So I maxed out the size I could possibly do for someone to fit through a door. They could still store it like a home or bring it through doorways inside buildings because the people that wanted it were like they do a bit of event planning and it, like they asked me to make a small like tabletop game show will when I was like, bruh, no, no. So I surprised them. I said, can I make it bigger? And they said yes. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna tell you how big, but I'm gonna make it bigger. And they ended up loving it. They originally wanted to, I guess, use it more, but they've been hesitant because they really like the wheel how it came out and because they don't want it to get ruined, but it was made to take a little bit of a beating.
Makes
That's probably one
sense.
of my favorites
Very nice.
outside the wall.
So, did you start training for comps and building comps and eating slop and sleeping on the floor before you applied for Big Brother, or was it after you applied and had an inkling you might be going through the process?
Well, I did it before because like you just had to practice. Like I always had the vision, like, hey, I'm gonna get on the show. It's one of the reasons why I did the comp from because I had done before I even applied. And I was like, I don't want to post it and then just how I meet somebody if I ever did get tested, right? I was like, I don't want anyone to ever even get a hint that I exist or I'm into Big Brother or that I'm in building comp. I wanted to manage my threat level, which I didn't do too well in the house, but that's another story. But that but when it comes to preparing the slop and the sleep, I thought that was easy because I was like, what's the worst thing that I think of that is like still doable? It's like, I guess the floor, because anywhere you go, you have a floor. I mean, I would hope you have a floor. So it's like if I could get used to sleeping on the floor and eating basic slop, because I always knew that the slop was just oatmeal with like basically nutritional powder. And that's basically what it was. I never tried it in the house because I never needed to, so I never compared the two. I might have, but I don't know if I remember. It's probably like a little taste, but and again, it was just basic oatmeal with nutritional powder. But I did that before going on the show because I always believed that I would get on the show, and I did.
You did. So now, when did you first start watching the show? I feel like you're a couple years younger than Nick and I, so want to get exactly when you started watching it and talk about the audition process. Did you send in a tape? Did they recruit you? Because they do a couple different things in order to put together the house guests who are going to be on each season.
Okay, so first I started watching season 19. That's what hooked me on to the show because it's funny because it wasn't even supposed to be on. Like I didn't sit down and was scrolling for a new show. It was on TV and I remember I was like, yeah, a little bit younger and I was doing yard work in the back. I was coming inside and out of the house. And this show is just on and I'm like, as I'm walking through, I'm like, they're doing some funky competition. I go in and I go outside, I come back in, and then like these two people are fighting, there's beef. I'm like, what's going on? I leave out, I come back in, and there's something else going on. It just hooked me. I was like, okay, I have to rewind this episode and just watch it back again. And that's how I started. So I started from season 19 and then followed it all the way to the most current season. And then I had to like back to watch some of the older seasons for sure. And when it comes to applying, this is like the golden rule for when you apply for Big Brother. I think is to always send in audition tape because I did mine audition tape. I've never done in person, but man, it looks brutal as flip. It gives you like 1 minute to pitch yourself, and you only get one shot, and you gotta wait line. That's too much work. Then you gotta make the tape out there. I was like, I applied to I applied twice. I made it on my second try. The first time I messed up because I sent in a 15-minute video, something along those lines. I forgot the exact length, but it was pretty darn long. And I didn't know the general rule at the time that it should be three because I was too busy yapping too much. I'm pretty good at yapping. Doesn't mean I'm like a professional speaker. I could just yap pretty
What
well.
is the ideal length for the video?
3 minutes, under three
Okay.
minutes.
It's
So
good to
there's
know,
that.
Nick.
And
For you, not me.
yeah, it doesn't even say that in the application when I applied. It didn't say 3 minutes, but when you do a quick Google search, it tells you keep it 3 minutes, and that makes sense. Like you should be able to pitch out in under 3 minutes. If not, then like why should someone join a show? Because often when you are, you don't hear someone yapping like for 5 minutes. You know, they only take a small bit. So you got to be able to pitch yourself in a short amount of time. But the thing is, when you application video, you just it's just you could redo it as many times as you want. I think I did mine redid it twice, but that's just because I messed up the intro. But other than that, it was and the I don't know if how I could speak about the whole process about the interviewing, but I will say it is pretty funny. Or I guess you could say for some people it could be a little bit nerve-wracking because often if through Zoom and you're sitting there and you're just waiting and they give you your time slot and you're waiting there and then all of a sudden you have like a couple people in front of you that you never met and then you just start talking. And I think that's all I got for that
All right,
segment.
so you get cast. I'm curious, Adrian, what was the thought process behind what you wore for the promotional photo shoot? Because that photo is going to live on forever.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a flannel guy. I like to
Yeah.
wear it all the time. It's funny because I did want to wear a red. I suggested I wear a red and black flannel. They said no. I know why now because Vince had that one. But the reason why I did it is because I don't know. I felt comfortable. Well, I mean, it was my day one outfit is what I was going to
Yeah.
go with. The pants was like flexible, it's stretchable, but still loose enough. So I was like, okay, I can compete in this. And I don't know. I really like. I'm a flannel guy, and it was like colorful and it pops because that's all. Another thing to look at when you're also auditioning is you don't want you when you have the capitals. You have to think of it like this: like you don't want one person to look alike or like all colors to be same. Like you want to pop out.
Yeah.
So I said that I don't really like solid color wardrobe. I like wearing things that are like layers that have different colors. So I was like, flannel is the perfect way because I live in Texas and it's hot, so I'm not gonna wear a jacket. So when it comes to flannel, I could wear a simple solid tee with like basically a patterned flannel, and I was comfortable in it, and that's all that mattered to me. And they said if they liked it, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wear it.
Very nice. So I like that because you went in there ready to go, dressed to compete the first night. A lot of people don't do that for some reason. They're in crazy outfits that they can't move around. You were this close to winning that first comp, which would have really changed things.
Yeah,
You know,
could have.
how long did that haunt you for? Is it still haunting you at this point?
My Lord, man, I think about my game almost every day. Every single moment, every little thing that could have happened differently, I think about it. So it doesn't haunt me. I mean, I think about it. I don't know if it haunts me, but I think when I think about it, it's not like it's a sad thing. It's more like a hunger for more. Like I
Yeah,
want to go back in the house and I want my redemption bad, you know? So because I'm already thinking about if I went back, how I'm going to do it, who I would potentially play with. And I'm like, it's in the works. Like, again, like I'm more the person that like wants to like, I guess, strategize like behind the scenes. I don't want to show too much of my cards.
sure.
Of course, I think that's probably one of the biggest fumbles I did going in the house was showing too much too early. Because I understand there was a huge difference between that what people saw in the edit versus like what was actually going on. There's a lot more happening behind the scenes that a lot of people don't realize, especially if you don't watch live feeds. And even not even everything isn't on live feeds. So there's
Hmm.
a few things that I have yet to see anybody mention about, but like I won't say that because it's like other personal business. But I
Yeah.
think it has to do a lot with what was happening in the house. But that's another
Yeah,
story.
well, let's talk about who we thought was your biggest ally. And that would be the one who had probably the worst HOH week of the season. And that would be Lauren, who ended up taking you out. And
Yes.
she was just all in tears. She couldn't believe it. Like, how could this happen? Well, it was her fault. She put you up. So, how did you feel about with that when that was playing out? And where are you and Lauren at these days?
Okay, so love Lauren. Me and Lauren are good, like on a personal level. Like I could never hold like ill will against anybody that voted me out was against me or anything like that. Because of the game, everyone wanted to do what they thought was best for their game, even though I don't agree with a lot of right.
Hmm.
And I can't blame them that. But I disagree with Lauren's decision, obviously. Um, I forgot the original question you asked.
Yeah, just like,
But oh, how I felt.
how do you feel during that time? Then how do you feel watching it back afterwards?
Well, during that time, it was like I was upset.
Yeah.
I was ready to get some blood on my hands. I was ready to fight, like to go after my non-allies. And it's crazy because as upset as I wanted to be, as upset as it was, I couldn't be mad at her because I needed her. Because I did the numbers. I knew I wasn't gonna I like it was gonna be a tie and potentially a seven, like I get seven people, potentially. But no more than that. Like most likely it's gonna be a tie. And I'm like, I can't tell Lauren that I'm coming after her because she put me up. Because then why would she pick a tie in my favor then? You know, especially against Will, if it's me and Will, because I knew I was going to say against Kelly. So the only scenario I'm thinking about is me going against Will, and I'm like, that's the worst case scenario here. because I won't survive against Will. And if it is, it's going to be a close one. So I couldn't be mad at her as much as I wanted to. And even if I survived that week, I still couldn't go after her because I could potentially
Yeah.
redeem that
I mean,
relationship.
I just hated how like Zach and Vince they voted you out because we can't let Lauren do a tiebreaker. That'd be bad for her. That's how they would have
I
saved
know.
you.
So
You guys were the what happened to the Burger Boys? I mean, you guys this faction really just blew up after like
The
30
boys
days.
should have stuck together.
You know, it's funny because I think Will wanted to, because I wasn't part of the Burger Boys. I
No.
did have Willpower, which was alliance between me, Will, and Zach.
Yeah.
But it was the hardest. Me and Will kept being put on the block together, and when that kept happening, it made it hard for us to work together. That was supposed to be a potential number. Same thing with Ava. I was good with Ava. I've been working that relationship basically from week one. But the problem is, so was Will. So again, it's like I had allies. It's just that I was on the block with my allies, and I was put up by an ally. So it's like it didn't make any sense. Like I said, I think the way I always justified it was that she put up her allies to please her non-allies. And
And
when I talked to her outside the house, she said the I guess the tipping stone, the main reason was Keanu was just pushing super hard, or she felt that why does Keanu want Adrian in so bad? So I remember telling Keanu, bro, I love you, bro, but stop campaigning for me. I remember in the gym, I was like, bro, you gotta stop. I was like, because
uh,
he wasn't aware of how much the house wanted him out, and I'm like, bro, I mean, like, I'm like, I appreciate your effort, but you gotta stop because Lauren was so like trying to decide if it was going to be Ashley or me, that she really didn't know until that she told me like she didn't know until that very second that she said my name. So I was like flip, because I know when I went to bed I was kind of good. When I woke up I wasn't, and Ashley was like doing her makeup all fine and dandy, like she knew she wasn't going to go on the block. And Zach felt the same way too. I know I talked to Zach after the thing in the show. He said it was for Lauren. Still believe that was like the main reason. I did say I knew Zach's weakness was the girls. He always had a soft spot for the girls, and especially Lauren.
sounds like Joe.
Bro, when he said he wasn't gonna use his power so Morgan doesn't go up, I'm like I remember watching that. I was like, bro, you gotta like come on. And I forgot. I lost my train of thought. Totally forgot.
That's all right. That's all right. Let's talk about any other regrets while you were in the house, and also, did anything generally surprise you about how the rest of the season played out in particular?
Um, no, it's not surprising because I think a lot of people were scared to band together. So I felt like I don't think there was really a big steamroll in my season. I mean, there kind of was, because I felt like the people that I wanted to align with were just too scared to make moves and too scared, and they just took forever to make a move until they were touched themselves.
Right.
So it's like I'm like, it wasn't too surprising. I was just hoping that someone had the guts to actually make a move other than the sides that are already not afraid to make the move. I was waiting for Zach. I was waiting for Vince to make a bigger move or to own his moves, right? Um,
Who would you want to have
but
worked with as the game went on?
if I wanted to work with, okay, if the vote went my way, like Zach and Vince
Right.
kept me in, I mean, I would have worked with like Kat, Riley, Keanu, Kelly. I would have worked with
So you would
everyone
have
that
been
basically
on that
works
other
team.
side of the house. It would have
Yeah,
created proper balance.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The problem is that
And
side of the
here's
house never made a move. They never took a
No.
shot at Rachel, and they ended up all getting picked off.
Yeah, I would have, and it's funny because I couldn't tell if I could trust Keanu or not. I was like, I don't think I could trust Keanu because it wasn't a vote that, and I talked to Keanu about this. There wasn't like a vote that proved to me that he was on my side, because he was lying a lot to a lot of people, and a lot of the house didn't want him in. So it was like the mentality here, and what do you call it? I want to work with that side, but remember there was tension between Riley and Keanu. No, Zach. They had some tension between Riley and Keanu because Zach
He
flipped on
flipped.
me, and he didn't keep me in, right? And Zach knew Mickey had the power, and I knew he and Mickey had the power. But when Riley won after my HOH, remember I picked this for the balance beams. I felt pretty confident that one of us would have won, and I knew. And what I liked about Riley is he would have had the same targets, the similar targets that I have, because it would be the same people that are basically coming after me and my allies, right? So Zach, once I was evicted, Zach didn't tell Riley who it was. So Riley ends up losing his power, and then Mickey gets, of course, she took a shot at her own side, which I guess is a whole nother story. But if I had stayed, I'm pretty confident one of us would have won that HOH. And if Mickey even decided to use her power, he would be deemed useless just as I stayed there. And we would actually have taken a shot that would have started chipping away the other side, because I felt like the side that I wanted to work with were good at comps. They just weren't good at working together. I mean, there's huge differences, right? But so I'm like, if I had stayed just that one night, I feel like the whole season would have been different, because I feel like my side would have been able to work more together. Even though I know Zach and Vince weren't really too fond of working with Keanu, or like at least Zach wasn't, especially with Kelly too. And I'm like, well, I mean, I'm cool with them. I'm cool with them. So I was like, if my side starts winning, then I think it would have been a lot smoother for me. So, like I said, I thought a lot about this. I went like almost every road, and I was like I said, because one thing I always say is what ruins a alliance faster is like a losing alliance. When your alliance starts losing, that's when people jump ship. That's when they start backstabbing. When they start working and voting for with the other side. But if your alliance keeps winning, like everyone wants to be good in your good graces, right? So it's like, again, if I just had stayed, but yeah, sometimes that just happens. I couldn't win that one comp, but
So how has your life changed since coming off the show, and were you recognized at the airport at LAX before you flew home?
I was before I flew home. There was like someone I think that was working in TSA is like, oh man, I just watched your episode, man. I was like, you shouldn't have gone. It's funny because every time people come up to me, they always say, look, I love Lauren on a personal level, but we're just talking game. People always tell me, man, I don't like Lauren because she put you up, and that was a chicken move. And I guess a lot of people agree with me
You
that
messed
I guess
up.
the house was playing chicken. Yeah. And honestly, if Lauren had never had ever put me up on the block, I wouldn't have like come for her. But I guess she was, again, like, whole different story. So it's always funny when people come up to me. I'm like, I'm cool with Lauren, like on a personal level, but like when you always talk about that game move, I'm like, I always disagree with it, of course, because it got me evicted. But also, like, I would have been so loyal, and she knew that I was playing a similar game to her, like honest. But again, I don't know why she would even risk that, because again, like, that's why I disagree with the whole thing, of course, right? But yeah, the way my life's changed, I mean, I've been busy. I got a lot of people calling me, new people calling me for work, the same people calling me for work. And it's also like, I guess people getting recognized. I know right when I did land home, I walked out and someone's like, hey, you're from Big Brother. It always happens every day. I don't get recognized like every corner I turn, but it is so funny because the other day I was in like Disneyland. With some family and friends. And like there are some people that called me like, "Hey, you look very familiar. Are you the Bread King?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's me, right?" So more people called me like the Bread Man or the Bread King at Disneyland than they called me by my name, which was
Mm.
insane.
So
So
how
I
did you
do get
feel about that
recognized.
whole that
It's
whole
pretty
that
nice.
whole bread man thing taking off?
What happened?
How'd you feel about the whole bread man thing taking off? Because on the actual show, maybe not the live streams, but it was only like a 45-second thing that they were showing you
Yeah.
with the bread.
I mean, it's crazy because I didn't expect it to be like a thing or make it on the show. I was genuinely like, I wanted to go on a date, and like I'm like, this bread's pretty fun, and I'm like, you never know what's gonna happen in the Big Brother house. So I was like, I'm gonna just take this bread on the date, and I take it up there, and it's funny because like I was just like again, I just go off the hip. And the line they used was so I love the line that they used because I was just talking to the bread. I'm like, because I'm like, it gets moldy, I eat a lot of bread. I'm like, you never want to have bread in the moist air because it grows. So it's funny, I tell it, I'm like, this is perfect weather for me, but I'm like, I know it's ideal for a piece of loaf, right? A bread loaf. And it's funny because they use that. And that was just me like thinking in real time how my brain was working. I'm like, this is not ideal for a bread loaf. But I mean, I loved it. I mean, I was surprised they showed it, and I don't mind it because I guess it's like something I guess follows me around, and I don't mind it when fans come up and they say hi. I mean, it's like probably one of the best feelings in the world. Yeah, it's very short, which is crazy, but I guess that's one thing I'm known for because most people don't. Of course, I think the casual watchers are always going to be bigger than the live watchers. So like the most things that most people like really recognize me for is for the bread. But I do have some big fans that come up to me and we talk game and they saw me in the live feeds, saw the strategy that I was cooking up to what I was planning in my head. And then that is where I love talking about Big Brother and stuff like that. But I mean, it not everything coming outside the house has been like a blessing. And I mean, I love it.
Adrian, last question from me, and then we'll start to wrap this up. Going in, were there any ladies in the house that caught your eye?
Ladies, they're all good looking. I mean, I won't lie. I mean, I couldn't think any. I think everyone generally from my season was really good looking. I mean, who I found it personally attractive. I mean, like I said, for me, I'm always into the personality. Like you can be like the most gorgeous person that may get me in the door, like me looking your way. But if you don't have like the personality to back it up, like fun, like nice hearted, like then then I'm not gonna follow through. But I mean, all the people on the show were pretty attractive, and I mean, I can't say anything bad about them.
All right, taking the easy
The
way out.
easy
I
way
feel
out.
like on the first episode, Joe, they actually had Adrian in the diary room talking about the ladies in the house, if I remember correctly. So,
Okay, like Morgan, they asked me about
There we
Morgan
go.
and
There
Ava.
we go.
So look, it's funny because I didn't even think that was a thing, right? I know when the episode starts, right? Everyone is in the room. They introduce themselves and they ask her, "What do you think of this person? What do you think
yeah.
of this person?" And for me, they only asked me two people. They asked me Morgan and Ava, or they started me off with Morgan. And I was like, "What do you think of Morgan? Do you think she's good looking or whatever?" I'm like, "Well, I don't really like talking about like a woman's appearance, right?" I'm like, "How about personality or style?" Right? I'm like, "Hey, look, Ava, I love Ava's style. It's cool, it's funky, I love it." And she's like, "Hey," I'm like, "Well, what about Morgan?" I'm like, well, they all look really good. I'm like, they look like they're in their 20s. So I was surprised when she told me she was in her 30s. And that's when I
That's a big
said the
thing.
lines after. I'm like, well, you look good for like she looks good for her early 30s or whatever. And they put the word doing. So they edited kind of out of context 100% because it was supposed to be a compliment. Like I was like, she looks good. She looks like a 20-year-old, not a 30. So I wouldn't have noticed or like tell if she had told me otherwise. So they added the doing sound, and it sounded like I guess I don't know, but I mean most people know. Most people told me they liked it, but I mean it was supposed to be a compliment. But hey, that's
Yeah.
Big Brother. They take things out of context sometimes.
Yeah, that's what you sign up for sometimes. So, Adrian, in your life, in your career, or everything with Big Brother, what has been your you know I'm right moment? What I mean by that, it's a time or place where you wanted to pursue something. You asked somebody for advice. They said, Adrian, sounds like a bad idea. Don't do that. It's not going to work out for you. And you were like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. And in the end, you will see why it is that I'm right about this. And I can tell you, I told you so.
I think that's about almost everything I do. I won't lie, is my I know I'm right moment. Like, I remember I told my mom, I was like, I'm applied to Big Brother. And she's like, oh, that's good. I'm like, what? What's wrong? She's like, "Oh, yeah, just a lot of people apply there and it's really hard to get. I'm like, so? I'm like, who said I couldn't be the one in 16 people that make it? And I literally make it on, right? I've done where I slept in New York. I went to New York for like 48 hours with no hotel, no plans and I slept on the street. And people said, "Oh, that's dangerous. I could get in trouble or something bad could happen." Never did. I loved it. It was the best time of my life. But that was before Big Brother, of course. So it's like I like to think I have like I'm right moments a lot. But one big one would be like, do you think you could really get on Big Brother? I'm like, yeah, I know I can. Or I'm right.
I don't think that could have wrapped up any more perfectly. Nick, I know exactly what Nick is thinking about. Nick is like, listen, Joe, if Adrian did it, you can do it.
Yo, Adrian, now that it's your turn, Joe.
Yeah.
Yo, Adrian. Adrian, we thank you. We really appreciate your time. What we do here is we always give our guests the last word. So if there's anything you would personally like to share or promote for yourself, by all means, go ahead. Two more quick questions. One, are you going to be at the Over the Edge event in Orlando this upcoming first weekend of December? And two, where can we find you?
Okay, so I will be at the Over the Edge event at the end of December this year, 2025, and you can find me at most of my socials are Living Life with Adrian, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. But also you could just look up Adrian Rocha. I'm sure you could find me somewhere if you really wanted to. And I think the last thing is just to, I guess, be kind and loving to everyone you meet.
There we go. That's going to do it here for this episode of You Know I'm Right. For our very special guest, Adrian Rocha, my co-host, Joe Calabrese. I'm Nick Durst, and this has been You Know I'm Right.